I warmly welcome everyone, as OneSport was generous enough to send this bicycle here so that we can showcase it in a video, which I will now do. I said yes to this OneSport thing because it's the first Chinese bicycle that has come to us, and it already has a torque sensor instead of a pedal sensor. Before we really start dissecting what this bike is good for, and so on, what are the specifications? This torque sensor thing is a very important change compared to the Chinese pedal sensor bicycles we have tried so far, because the difference is that on a bicycle with a torque sensor, there is a sensor in the axle between the two pedals that detects how hard we are pedaling the bicycle. The previous pedal sensor solutions also had a sensor, but it only detected whether we were pedaling or not, making it a very binary system. Now, if the torque sensor provides data to the system regarding how strongly the person using the bicycle is pedaling, then the rear hub motor, which is also present in this bicycle, approximately, it provides the same amount of assistance as the strength with which we pedal, meaning we receive a constantly varying, continuous, and smooth support, which is beneficial because this type of drive allows for a much more comfortable, much smoother, and much more pleasant riding experience. However, this is obviously a more expensive option, which is why there hasn't been a Chinese bicycle with a torque sensor until now, as Chinese manufacturers aim to offer electric-assisted bicycles at lower prices, where the pedal sensor was a simpler solution. Now, I can say here how much better, more pleasant, and cooler it is to use, but the truth is, you have to try it out. Anyone who has only used a bicycle with a pedal sensor and then gets on a bike with a torque sensor will immediately feel the difference and will wonder why all bicycles aren't like this, and why they haven't used one of these until now. So, this is a very, very significant upgrade. Now, the situation is that, as I mentioned, this is a more expensive solution, since it requires more sensors and better control. For this reason, the manufacturers have been hesitant to enter this expensive segment, as they feared losing their price identity. What you need to know about OneSport is that they are a manufacturer that has been producing bicycles for a long time. They just haven't been in the market under their own name until now. This is practically one of their latest models, which features a torque sensor, and it clearly represents a higher price category. The official price, the full price, is 1,400 euros, which is quite a bit of money. However, there are all sorts of discounts, coupon codes, and whatever else at the bottom of the video. So if you're interested, take a look. The important thing is that there is a coupon code that can knock off 300 euros from the price, bringing the final amount down to 1,100 euros. And this includes shipping and whatever else. At 1,100 euros, it is actually not significantly more expensive than similar sized bicycles with pedal sensors, as those typically cost around 800 to 900 euros. Now, aside from being equipped with a torque sensor, there are a couple of things we should mention about it. Firstly, it rolls on 27.5-inch wheels and is fundamentally an urban bicycle. It has a substantial 18.6 Ah battery, and the rear hub motor has a power output of 250 W and a torque of 40 Nm. However, we can say that this falls into the lower category, meaning it is not a particularly powerful electric bicycle, as many others offer more than 250 watts. A range of 300-350 watts is still acceptable within the bicycle category, and there are certainly much more powerful models available. This is not meant to be a racing bicycle. It's not for you to climb steep mountains or to go off-road with it. This is a comfortable, pleasant, manageable, and easy-to-use urban bicycle, which is designed without a central frame reinforcement, making it suitable for use even in a skirt. Moreover, it primarily focuses on comfort from every aspect. Now, the combination of the battery and the 200 mAh power already predestines us to have a decent range, but because it has a torque sensor, there is another advantage. The rear hub motor does not constantly operate at maximum power due to the torque sensor. Instead, it provides a variable intensity of power, which allows for much more economical use of the battery. The situation is that we have already traveled quite a bit, and I don't want to run out of battery, but roughly speaking, the manufacturer claims a range of 120 kilometers with assistance. We would say it's more like 80-90 kilometers, but even that is perfectly fine. Now, let's move on, but let's take a closer look at the bicycle. So, here is our bicycle. The situation is as follows. I haven't installed everything that comes with it because they provide a lot of extras. For example, I haven't put on the bell yet, even though it was included in the box. They also provide a phone holder, which is a waterproof zippered case. And here is a little USB-A gadget to allow for charging. With this button, we can also wake up the bicycle, and then the display turns on. You can see, and I think it shows quite well in this video, that this is a particularly good display. If I press the button here, you can see that the readout changes, showing the current status. And it also displays the speed. And that's it, which is a bit sad because now I will turn it off again and turn it back on. And you will see that the display could actually show a number of different metrics, but simply the software is not ready for it yet, or it doesn't utilize all the capabilities of this display. And here is this little gadget that I use to adjust the level of assistance, and I can turn the bicycle on and off. This has been illuminated. It may not be very visible right now, but it glows in the dark, which is a really nice little gesture. You see, I can change the level of assistance with the up button, which can also be 0, and this is significant. I will explain shortly. Additionally, if I press the up button for a long time, the light turns on, which, here it is, and it has quite good brightness, and it has a pair here at the back. Since we are at the back, let's take a look at the layered laminated plate rack, which has a maximum load capacity of 25 kilos. In all the pictures I had seen beforehand of this bicycle, this plate was not included. So I will take this as a kind of freebie. Also, since we were talking about the load capacity, they specify a total of 100 kilos for the entire bicycle, which is somewhat less than what is typically given, as 120 kilos is the standard, and 150 kilos is considered quite high. However, this one is only 100 kilos, which I think is not due to the fact that it may not be able to handle a 120 kilo user, but rather, the 250 watt rear hub motor located at the back might feel a bit weak under a 120 kilo load. Now, we have here a gear lever that operates the rear Shimano Sistorni TZ derailleur, which is a 7-speed derailleur. It doesn't really matter if we are moving on flat terrain, but if we go to a more hilly area, then it will make sense. There's a non-adjustable front suspension that doesn't dampen too much, but it does provide some cushioning. There's an adjustable seat that is quite wide and soft, which makes it comfortable for the first few meters, but after about 15 kilometers it is no longer ideal. That's about it. The rear light is of course included, and I must mention that this is a hydraulic disc brake, which has a pretty good bite point and works relatively well, so there are no issues with that. And here's another trick. I have already installed the included throttle that came with it, which is not factory made, but is packaged with it, and you can connect it somewhere in the wiring here. And then, if you set it to 0 here, if you set the level of assistance, then the throttle works, and you can also move the bicycle without pedaling at all. Now, theoretically, the maximum speed of the bicycle was supposed to be limited to 25 kilometers per hour, but you need to enter the service menu, which is just a matter of pressing both buttons at the same time for a moment. Then you can easily adjust the top speed here, and if I simply pull the lever, the bicycle can accelerate up to 30 kilometers per hour. However, this will reduce our range to more like 40, 50, 60 kilometers. Well, obviously the question is which one to choose, and we have traveled quite a lot with it everywhere. Next up, this is an urban bicycle. It's really great in the city. Riding it is truly a comfortable experience. It's manageable, controllable, and predictable. This is a normal electric bicycle. However, the 250 watt motor and 40 Nm of torque start to feel insufficient when you encounter more serious inclines. You can handle a lot of these milder, longer climbs without any issues, but then when you actually reach steeper areas, there comes a gradient where you start to feel that you are putting in at least as much effort as the bike. There will be a point when you feel like you are putting in much more effort than it is. And then there will be a moment when you realize that it is really only contributing enough to offset the extra weight that comes from this bicycle's mass, just to keep up with your muscle work as if it were a lightweight bicycle. So, I cannot recommend it for very hilly or mountainous areas because this is a 28 kilo bicycle. It is a heavy machine. Therefore, at a certain steepness, the electric motor and the electric power simply aren't enough to push it up stronger inclines. So the situation is that in the city, this is incredibly acceptable and works absolutely well with a long range and pleasant usage, making it a very friendly bicycle. I also think that in this white color and with this design, it is almost charming, regardless of the fact that it is quite large. But if you live in very hilly areas, then this is not your bicycle, because it won't assist you as much as you would like. So, let's summarize. The situation is that for 1,100 euros, this is a fair price because you won't find anything else on the market in this price range that has a torque sensor instead of a pedal sensor. Plus it comes with hydraulic disc brakes, all the accessories included, even the cat's eyes that I haven't installed yet, as well as the front and rear lights, and a really nice display, along with a bridge speed smooth shifting system. So really this is a fair offer for this amount of money, but you need to see that they might have cut corners where they should have added a little extra to ensure you can go anywhere, because the 250 watt motor's power may not be enough in certain situations. At that time I struggled with it too. I went home somewhere in France. But I enjoyed it much more than a bicycle with a pedal sensor, even though it was a much stronger machine. On the other hand, when I wasn't heading home but was just cruising around the area, I felt that this is an extremely comfortable bicycle, and I would gladly use it in my daily life. However, the reality of daily life usually involves going home, and since I live on a high hill, I probably wouldn't be too keen on riding this heavy bicycle back home every evening. But I am just one case among many. Perhaps someone else has circumstances that make this OT05 model from OneSport a perfectly suitable bicycle for them. Well, the OT05. In short, this is the essence of the bicycle. It was a pleasant surprise for me. On one hand, it was sent by a company we did not know before, yet it is a well-developed product. However, there are one or two more problematic stories in this narrative, because as hardware, as manufacturing, as a bicycle, it's really good. But when it comes to discussing the software, there are indeed difficulties. So this bicycle has Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth icon is constantly flashing on the display. It keeps flashing until you pair it with your phone. Now, it took me about 3 tries to get it to work, and then the pairing happens, thank goodness. You would think that you could set 100,000 things through this Bluetooth connection, but on one hand, the app itself is very basic, and it clearly lacks the energy to be optimized for every phone's screen resolution, so the menu items don't look good on it. Moreover, you can't really adjust anything in it, so there's still a lot of work to be done to get it under control, because in its current state, the Bluetooth connection they provide is actually good for nothing, really nothing. So this is definitely a flaw regarding the bicycle, but otherwise, it's okay. One point I would criticize is the assembly manual, which is of quite terrible quality. Fortunately, there is a PDF version available online where you can see the images that were drawn, but unfortunately it is very far from the level of clarity needed, as certain steps are shrouded in a kind of mythical obscurity, making it difficult to understand how to solve the assembly process. Suddenly, there is a part that wasn't there before, and you wonder how they managed to install it. This is on one hand unpleasant, and on the other hand, the quality of the printing is very poor. Thirdly, the manual is extremely terse. It doesn't say a word about Bluetooth, nor does it mention how to install the extra throttle. It doesn't even tell you that you need to set the assistance level to 0 in order to use the extra throttle. The manual is very weak. And because of this, I spent a good 2 hours trying to assemble this bicycle. Not only because I had to figure out what goes where since the instructions were not clear, but also because there are certain parts or accessories that can only be attached with a screw, which was a real struggle. I had to twist and turn things around, and it required significant muscle effort to pull it into place where the screw hole is. So, I had a lot of issues with it from that perspective, but once it was assembled and I started using it, I thought it might be worth the suffering. However, it is clear that OneSport has certainly manufactured a lot of bicycles for others that work perfectly, and they can produce bicycles for themselves as well. But they still lack experience in how to package, present, and deliver it to the customer in a way that ensures satisfaction in every aspect. So it's definitely worth preparing for this. But if you get past these initial obstacles, you'll end up with a pleasantly usable, nice urban bicycle that wasn't too expensive considering what it offers. Of course, this is all you can fit into a video. I would like to thank everyone who has followed along with me through this. So I would like to wrap this up now. That's all for the video. Thank you very much for watching. You can find a coupon code in the description if you decide that this bicycle interests you. If you want to see more similar videos, then press the usual buttons, and you won't miss out on our future content either. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.